Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video here on the channel. Now in today's video, we're going to be talking about a very interesting situation that's been going on over on Twitter that has to do with Delta Airlines. Now if you've been on Twitter over the last week or so, or really any other social media platform, you'll probably have seen this clip that has to do with the Delta Airlines employee that misgendered a transgender individual.
And what about when a Delta employee misgenders you intentionally?
While he's talking, you're talking.
You just misgendered me again.
Okay.
Multiple times.
Gotcha.
Both of you have.
Sorry.
Wasn't intentional, but if you want to take it personal, that's also.
Well, she did do it intentionally twice.
You're talking to me too.
You said she and then you said he.
You're being condescending, and if you want to continue, I have full authority to escort you out the building right this moment. If you want to play that game with me.
Okay.
Would you like to continue 3 days before Christmas? I really don't mind.
I'm good. I'll just put this on.
Now, after that clip was posted and garnered a absolutely ridiculous amount of attention on Twitter alone, people really love this clip, man, and I gotta be honest with you, I do too. It's like watching a Karen have a freak out in an airport and get called on it. Like, what parents were to us in 2014 is what transgenders are to us now. That's not even a joke. I don't even really feel like I need to explain that statement to make it make sense. But I think I will anyways. What we would define as a Karen here on the internet is essentially just a person that wants to get their way, even if they're objectively in the wrong. Does this sound familiar at all? Listen, man, I rest my case. I'll leave that point there for now. Let's continue on with the video. So after this clip went viral over on Twitter, a lot of different people, a lot of different creators, a lot of different consumers alike had their opinions to share about this clip. And one creator in particular decided to give their thoughts in a 15-second TikTok, which they caught a lot of backlash for. I'll go ahead and run that now.
So like I don't fly in airplanes, I don't travel by plane, but if I did, I'd probably start using Delta. They just did something no other company has been brave enough to do, let alone on camera. They actually stood up to the rainbow bullies.
So in this clip, like a lot of other people on the internet have been doing recently, this girl actually praises Delta Airlines for the situation that took place between this employee and this transgender individual. Now, as we'll find out a little bit later in the video, Delta Airlines actually went ahead and made an apology about all of this, and they compensated the transgender individual for their mental issues as a result of it. But like I said, we'll get more into that later on in the video. My whole point in bringing that up, though, is just to draw attention to the fact that we can't really praise Delta Airlines as a company for this, as they've gone on record publicly saying that the company doesn't align with this individual employee's actions. Anyways, like I said before, this clip that I just showed you from this TikToker caught a lot of flack, a lot of backlash, as is to be expected over on TikTok. But unlike most creators who would buckle and back down after making a controversial statement and getting called on it, this creator was actually quite prepared to respond to any backlash that came her way.
I'm so excited that you said this! Okay. First of all, you just assumed my gender.
Okay, we're already out to a really good start here.
Second of all, I don't give a fuck. I know that probably bothers you, but the difference between us is that I don't base my emotional stability on the validation of strangers. I know, rough concept, huh? And by the way, there's nothing wrong with me accurately defining a group of people as rainbow bullies when they are literally notorious for throwing temper tantrums and lashing out at people who think even minutely different from them. And by the way, I have personally been called things so much worse than a rainbow bully. So if that is gonna be the end-all be-all for your little feelings, then I think you need to go take a trip over to Super Weenie Hut Jr.
Alright, so to be honest with you, she probably could have done without the ending. It was a little cringe, but that's okay. The rest was fire. So like I said, there were a lot of comments on her initial video pushing back against her praising Delta Airlines, one of which read as such: "He misgendered someone, and you calling the LGBT plus community rainbow bullies is homophobic and makes you as bad as him. How would you like it if someone referred to you as he or him?" This is actually the comment that she was responding to in that previous clip. And to be honest with you, based on her response, it doesn't really look like she, or anyone else for that matter, would even really care if you misgendered them. Because guess what? People that aren't mentally ill know what they are, and they don't need to be validated by the world around them. While most doctors wouldn't refer to gender dysphoria as a mental illness, it is in the DSM-5 with every other mental illness that exists in the world. They won't call it a mental illness because of social pressure, but it is a mental illness at the end of the day. Mental illness keeps you from finding yourself, discovering your inner self, and coming to accept that as it is. This isn't just locked to gender dysphoria. This is pretty much any other mental illness. It keeps you from discovering who you really are, and accepting that. Like, let me just get a little personal about this for a second, okay? I'm a smaller guy. I always have been. I'm 5'9", I weigh 120 pounds. We're working on that, but at the end of the day, I'm a small guy. And for the most part, I've come to accept that. I acknowledge the fact that I am a little bit uncomfortable in some parts of myself, but also accepting of those things at the same time, as I know there's no way I can change that. The only thing I can really do is work on myself and improve myself, and I take solace in that. See, the problem is that I'm 21 years old, and it took me that long to get to the point where I'm at, where I'm like, okay, I am who I am. Let's do what I can with the hand I was dealt. And usually it takes most people roughly that long. So when we now have a mental illness called gender dysphoria that basically just looks at a child that's uncomfortable in their own skin, which is a very common experience, especially in the traumatizing world we live in for kids nowadays. Like, it's just dangerous, man. It's just not healthy. Gender dysphoria is quite literally the definition of a social construct, considering the fact that it's literally the only thing listed in the DSM-5 that most doctors wouldn't refer to as a mental illness, despite the fact that it quite literally is. Look, man, I'm not gonna sit here and say I don't think anybody should ever be transgender. I personally don't think we currently have the technology to be doing that kind of shit to human beings. We've seen this time and time again. But if you've been going to therapy for 5, 10, 15 years and you still feel like a girl and you were born a guy, get the operation, bro. I'm not gonna sit here and say you shouldn't. But if you're anywhere between the ages of 18 and 30 and you decide you want to get a transgender operation, I really feel like most people are gonna end up regretting that. And if they don't, well, then they just ran away from who they really are, and that's equally as bad. This is what people mean when they say there's spiritual warfare taking place in the world we live in. I know it might sound cringe, I know it might sound gay, but when we live in a world where medical professionals are literally giving people devices to run away from who they really are, you're kind of taking away that person's soul. Am I sitting here kind of like, it's 3 in the morning, I know I might be like off a fucking bean right now, but is anybody else sort of understanding where I'm coming from? If somebody doesn't have the power to become who they were meant to be, are you not taking away their soul to some degree? I don't know, man. But to me, it just seems like some borderline satanic shit. I don't know my stance on if you're like a 40-year-old dude that really thinks you're a woman and you have for a long time. Should you get a transgender operation? I still think probably not. You were born a man. Deal with it, bro. Buck the fuck up. You don't just get to become a woman. I get us fellas have it tough out here, bro, but that's no excuse. Also, isn't there like an actual legitimate real story where a woman decided to dress as a man for a year, and after realizing how women and people in general treated her when they thought she was a man, quite literally ended her life? Why would a woman want to get a transgender operation in the first place? And why would a man want to become a woman when at the end of the day, like, you have so much potential and capability as a man that women don't have, and vice versa, women have that potential that men don't have and everything. It's just, it doesn't make sense. There's literally zero upside to becoming the opposite gender aside from, oh, now I feel better. I'd feel better if the Holocaust didn't happen, but sometimes we just kind of have to keep our delusions to ourselves. Sometimes shit is just the way it is. Anyways, man, I had a great time making this video. It feels like we took the channel back about 10 months and just picked up where we left off. I had a lot of fun making this video. If you guys enjoyed as well, be sure to leave a like, of course. Consider subscribing if you are new around here. And with all that out of the way, man, I'm out of here. Peace.